The big homie Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle was a smart guy. And what he was trying to explain was that we will become the sum of our habits, right? We are what we repeatedly do. The life you are living now is a result of the habits that you have been living up until this point, the good ones and the bad ones. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 steps on how to build good habits that will improve all aspects of your life and how to break the bad habits that are fucking your life up, causing pain, misery. Because here's the thing. If you follow this advice and you implement what I'm about to say, you'll be able to build the life of your dreams. It won't depend on luck. It won't depend on the economy. It won't depend on outside forces. It will be because of you, right? You will be able to finally take charge of your life and mold it into whatever you want. Fuck this up, then you will keep failing indefinitely. And as you lay beneath a pile of your own broken dreams and crushed aspirations, you look back on this day and be like, damn, if I would have only listened to Big Brandon Carter, King Keto, Gymnasium Jesus, I wouldn't have this fat wife. I wouldn't have to sleep next to this creature every night in the ghetto. And I wouldn't be so fat and ugly. Maybe my kids will respect me. I don't want that to happen to you. So take notes, motherfucker. And some of you are going to be like, hey, I've heard this in another video. Hey, asshole. If you would have listened that time, you wouldn't still be watching videos on how to fucking build habits. You think that's what I'm doing? No, motherfucker. If I'm searching for advice, it's like, how do I keep all these fucking hoes away from me? No mas chicas, por favor. One girlfriend's all I need, man. One big titty girlfriend. It's all I need. That's the kind of advice I'm looking for. What do I do with all this disposable income? How do I save on my taxes? Those are the kind of problems I want you to have, not how to build habits. If you would have learned it the first time, you wouldn't be watching this video, asshole. So shut the fuck up. Take notes. All I want to hear from you is please and thank you going forward. The first thing you need to do to build good habits and break bad ones is going to be controversial. A lot of the advice you hear on success, people say you to be positive. Oh my God, think about the good things, and that California hippie shit, I'm not saying that hasn't worked for people or that it wouldn't work for you, but I think there's something a lot more powerful. Let me explain how I learned this. Nobel Prize winning economist Daniel Connerman once did an experiment where he had 2 groups of people, Group A and Group B. He had both groups perform an arduous task. He told Group A, hey, if you complete this task, we're going to give you $100 if you complete this task. Group B, he told, you're going to lose $100 if you don't complete this task. Guess who worked harder? Yeah, Group B worked significantly harder. And the homie Big Danny did a whole bunch of experiments like this. And what he realized was that loss aversion is way more powerful and a better motivator than potential gain, right? Potential loss is significantly more motivating than potential gain. How are we going to use this to our advantage? Instead of just thinking about and visualizing your success and all the things that you will acquire and have as a result of implementing these habits, I want you to think about how fucked up your life would be if you don't acquire these habits or if you end up doing the opposite, right? Because the big homie Sigmund Freud is a world-renowned, coked up pervert. However, he's also the father of modern psychology, right? Nobody's perfect. We all have flaws, all right? Old Sigmund said, he came up with something called the pleasure pain principle, where Sigmund asserted that all humans are either moving towards pleasure, that heart is a representation of pleasure, or away from pain, right? And again, it's perceived pleasure or perceived pain, right? That's fire and it represents pain. So anytime anyone does anything, is they're moving towards perceived pleasure or away from perceived pain, right? So the whole visualization crowd, they're only working on half of the equation, right? The pleasure part. But what the homie Daniel Connerman showed us was that the pain part is significantly more powerful when it comes to getting people motivated. So if you lack motivation to implement a new habit, it's probably because there's not enough pain associated with it. So like the American poet Clifford Smith, aka Method Man, once said, "I came to bring the pain hardcore to your brain." So what we want to do is visualize. And in order to bring the pain hardcore to your brain, we have to negatively visualize. So what you need to start doing every day is thinking about what would happen if I don't accomplish these goals. I mean, what would happen if I don't do this thing, right? Whatever habit you're trying to cultivate, whether it's eating right, whether it's exercising, I want you to think about what would happen if I don't do this, right? We got to bring the pain. Every time I say bring the pain, I would love it if we had a clip from Method Man's video, Bring the Pain.
I came to bring the pain hardcore from the brain.
For example, let's say you're trying to cultivate the habit of eating healthy diet. It's not motivating enough to think about the good things, man. I'm telling you, if it was, then we wouldn't have a goddamn obesity epidemic in America. 1,500 Americans die every day of obesity-related diseases. To put that in perspective, only 3,000 people died on 9/11, right? So it's like a 9/11 every other day. But people aren't thinking about this shit, right? Because whatever reason, that's not publicized. I want you to think about it. Think about how fucking fat and ugly you're going to be. Think about how your girlfriend is going to be finger banging herself to Brandon Carter videos instead of thinking about you. Think about your goddamn kids getting made fun of when their fat ass dad picks them up from school. You don't think the other kids is laughing at your fat ass? Now your kid's getting bullied because of you. Think about it, and think about how worse it will get. What a lot of people do, especially when it comes to cultivating habits, they're way too easy on themselves, right? The reason people have difficulty being consistent when it comes to building new habits or acquiring a new skill, whatever it is because they're way too easy on themselves. They say shit like, "Oh, I did it 5 days in a row. I deserve this." Or, "Oh man, one day won't hurt." No. One day won't hurt in isolation, right? But the thing is, nothing exists within isolation, right? Because if you don't feel like doing it today and then you don't do it, what happens is you're building a negative habit. So next time you don't feel like doing it, and that day will come, it's going to be way easier for you to give in to temptation that time as well, right? And then the cycle, and it just keeps getting easier. It's a downward spiral. Next thing you know, you're not following your diet at all. You're just eating motherfucking Cheetos, candies, and cake like a little fat child instead of a real man. It didn't start with you just shoving bullshit down your mouth every day. It started with a little degradation of standards here, a little bit there. I deserve it here. A little, I can have just one here. And instead of being easier on yourself, saying, "I deserve it," or some other sucker shit, I want you to say, no. If I give in to temptation today, then I will be a fat motherfucker indefinitely. If I give in to temptation this time, it will be awful. Don't be easy on yourself. In fact, be way harder on yourself. No diddy, pause. The negative visualization will really fucking help. If you don't feel like going to the gym, think about how bad shit will get if that keeps up. Which brings me to the third thing you need to do to build big habit: obsessive consistency. A lot of people struggle when it comes to being consistent and building a new habit. The reason is because they accept inconsistency. I touched on it a little bit in step 1, but I want to go deeper on it because it deserves its own step. The reason you're inconsistent is because you accept inconsistency from yourself. It's not a standard, right? It's a good idea. It's something you want to do or something you're trying to do. Fucking try, baby. You don't try to brush your teeth every day. Most of you do that every day. You don't try to feed your kids. You feed your kids every day. You take your kids to school every day. You walk your fucking dog every day. Otherwise, you'd have shit all over your house. You're way more lenient with your own habits because they're not standards, right? What we need to do is create standards for yourself, right? So it's not something you want to do, not something you're trying to do. It's you're going to do it or die trying. There's no exceptions, no matter what it means, even if it's more painful one day. And here's the thing. When you don't feel like doing a thing, that's the most important time to do it. Because anybody can do something when they're motivated, when they're excited. It's fucking amateur hour. What about when you don't feel like it, when you're not motivated? That's going to happen. And you go anyway. what that does is the opposite of what you've been doing is going to happen. If you don't feel like it, but you do it anyway, the next time you don't feel like it, it's going to be easier to what? To do it anyway. Once you start quitting, it's easier to quit. Here's the thing about quitting or taking today off or eating some bullshit because you deserve it or not upholding the standards because you did it 5 days in a row or whatever fucking sucker shit you've been saying to yourself for mad long. What you're really doing is quitting. And then you have to start the thing again. But starting's the hardest part, right? What you want to do is build momentum and keep that momentum going. Because if you fucking cheat on your diet one day and it's not like a structured cheat day, you just fucking say, oh man, I deserve it. I'll just do it today. You didn't take a break. You didn't cheat one day. No, you quit. And now you have to start over again tomorrow. And here's the thing. Tomorrow is going to be more difficult now because you gave into the temptation that one time. Because think about it. How do you build a habit? Just really think about how do you build a habit. If you wanted to train an animal to do something, let's say you got a dog. We'll call him Sebastian, right? You got this dog named Sebastian, and he's a cute dog. Let's say you want to train Sebastian to do a trick or some shit. Apparently, Sebastian's a 3-legged dog. That's the best I could do. All right, whatever. When you want to train the dog to do something, you give him positive reinforcement when he does something right. This is a dog bone. You give him a treat when he does something right. He'll do more of it. This is how we train animals, with positive reinforcement. If you're at fucking SeaWorld or the zoo or wherever they keep dolphins, when the dolphins does a motherfucking trick, what they do, man, they throw that motherfucker a fish. He's doing tricks for fish. But that's training the dolphin. It's positive reinforcement. You do the same thing with your dog. Now, what happens when the dog does something bad? You punish him. I don't know how to draw a newspaper, right? So I'm just going to draw this, right? You punish him, right? And then what happens is the dog knows not to do that thing. Positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. This is how you train all animals, right? So you give him positive reinforcement when he does something you want him to do. And when he does something you don't want him to do, it's negative reinforcement. But here's the thing. You've been doing this shit all wrong for yourself. So let's say you want to go to the gym, for example. That's a habit you're trying to build. But then one day you don't feel like it for whatever reason. You get tired, fucking who knows what happens, right? You just don't feel like going. We all go through this. If you don't go, what do you do? What do you do when you don't go? You probably do something that you enjoy. Play video games, jerk off, whatever. I don't know what you guys do. You motherfuckers have been positively reinforcing the thing you don't want to do. Does that make sense, right? You're supposed to follow a diet and then you're not following the diet. And what do? You positively reinforcement. You give yourself a motherfucking treat for not following the diet. Oh, I can just eat this cake, and you give yourself a treat. No wonder you can't stay consistent because you're positively reinforcing your bad habits. You're positively reinforcing your bad habits. You have to stop that. This is why it's so difficult for you to build good habits. It's one of the reasons, because you're positively reinforcing the things you want to stop doing. Can you see how fucking bad this is? This would be like if your dog shit on the floor, ate one of your shoes, and pissed on your wife. You give this motherfucker a treat. He's gonna think that that's the formula for getting treats. Oh man, all I gotta do, piss on the bitch, shit in the shoe, and chew up the fucking clothes, and I'll get treats. He's gonna do that shit more. He don't know no better. He a dog. But that's what you're doing to yourself. You're supposed to go to the gym even when you don't feel like it. You don't do it, and then you fucking positively reinforce that shit by doing something fun. This is why it's been so difficult for you to build good habits for so long. The habits you want to build, and negatively reinforce the bad habits. Because that's how you train an animal. Guess what? Human beings are animals as well. And you have to train yourself, which is actually the definition of building habits. And the way you train an animal, humans are animals, positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Stop positively reinforcing the shit you don't want to do or the things you want to stop. Which brings us to the third step. Any habit you're trying to do more of, you want to reduce the friction. And any habit that you're trying to do less of, any negative habit you're trying to break, you have to increase the friction. For example, when I first moved to Miami, I wanted to make sure I stayed focused because there's a lot of distractions here, man. A lot of distractions, fucking big booty Spanish bitches everywhere, big ass titties, man. I live close to the fucking strip club. I live walking distance to the fucking one of the best strip clubs in Miami, if not the nation. Bad bitches is everywhere. And I know that in my past, that's been a huge distraction for me, and it's prevented me from accomplishing my goals as quickly as I like to. So I know that about myself. So what I do, man, I made sure I had a girlfriend when I moved down here, moved her in the crib with me, shared and voluntarily shared my location with her on my phone. So it's harder for me to indulge in all that other shit if I got a fucking crazy Latina chick in here checking my location every 5 minutes. Sure, I could figure it out if I wanted to, right? But it would be a lot of friction involved, right? It'd be way difficult. Now I got to figure out a way to leave my phone somewhere. It'd be fucking ridiculous. There's too much friction. It wouldn't even be worth it at that point. And because I increase the friction so much, it doesn't even take discipline for me. Another example is one of the foods that I really enjoy. This may come as a surprise because I look like this, is ice cream. You would never think that a motherfucker who looks like this loves ice cream. Like if there's some ice cream in the house, I'm gonna eat it all. Guess what? There's no ice cream in it. None. Right? Now, I could go to the store, get some ice cream, come back, but there's more friction involved. Way more friction than fucking walking to my fucking kitchen getting the spoon and shoving that shit in my mouth. Pause. Right? Because I increase the friction, it's way more difficult for me to do that. And it actually doesn't take as much discipline because I increase the friction. You can do that with any of the habits you're trying to break. I had a friend who had a real problem with online sports gambling. So we did a few things. First, we made him delete all the apps off his phone. Of course, he can still download them and start doing it, but it's a little bit more friction. And that helped him. I had another friend that wasn't enough friction for him. He would still fucking find a way. I had him move to a state where it was illegal to do online gambling. Guess what? He's not a gambling addict anymore. Or he might still be an addict. He broke the habit, is what I'm trying to say. Because there's so much friction and it didn't even take discipline. That's the beauty of friction. If you increase the friction enough, it doesn't even take discipline to restrain yourself. You get what I'm saying? I hope you guys are getting this. Does that make sense? Does this make sense? This is like a really powerful concept when it comes to breaking bad habits. Now, if it's just a habit that you want to increase, then you got to reduce friction. For example, this fucking studio, I wanted to make sure that I had more content. I wanted to do my podcast twice a week. I wanted to put out a YouTube video every day. So I moved into a fucking place with an extra room. Right? There's 3 bedrooms in this penthouse. I don't need 3 bedrooms. I turned one into an office where I work. I don't work here. And there's one there I sleep and have unprotected interracial sex. And then here is just for recording content. Right? So it's always set up. I don't have to set up cameras. I don't have to get lights. The lights are always here. The fucking cameras are always set up. The one I'm talking to is mounted to the wall. Never comes down. So all I got to do is sit down and start yelling at the camera. Next thing you know, it's on the internet. Everyone loves it. But there's no friction involved. I really just sit down here and get to work, right? But if I had to set this shit up every time and then break it down every time, it'd be more difficult for me to stay consistent under those circumstances. But now there's no friction. Another example is when I first started waking up early and working out, what I did was I put my clothes by the door. I put my alarm on the other side of the room next to my workout clothes, right? So when I went to turn off my alarm, it was right there. Just put my workout clothes on, go brush my teeth, start training. You get what I'm saying? And there's no friction involved. So it was easier for me to adhere to that. You can see this in the business world. Here's Jeff Bezos talking about friction.
Friction, if you want to do more of something, make the friction less. If you want to do less of something, make the friction more. If there's a particular snack food that you like a lot and it's making you fat, put it on the top shelf where it's harder to get to, and you'll eat less of it. So you don't leave it on your kitchen counter.
Here's how we know it works, because Jeff actually does this shit. So let's say you want to go on Amazon, right? As soon as I go on Amazon, these motherfuckers, they reducing friction. They have the shit that I was looking at, some guitar shit, right here. They're reducing friction to buy it, and the shit I want to buy again. My son likes Paw Patrol mac and cheese, right? And I fuck with this shit. Now check this out. Let's say I want to get more of these limit things. I click on here. I can just add it to my cart. You see how they're reducing the friction of all the stuff I buy, right? Boom, it's easy. I can just buy right now. Just hit the button and next thing you know, I got it. You know what I'm saying? And I'll have it tomorrow. Or if you actually click on a product, then I'll be buying this shit. They did not pay me for this, man. But I will take the money, right? What's the first option? The first option, okay, here's the thing. You can tell what Amazon wants you to do because look where the friction is. Look where the friction is increased and look where the friction is decreased. They clearly want me to subscribe to this shit. So the subscribe and save on 2 months is the default. This is a step involved for me to buy it once. They want me to click that button. So it comes now. They're reducing friction. They're increasing friction. They're reducing friction for what they want. I don't know if you motherfuckers ever tried to subscribe and save. They're making it super easy for me to subscribe and save to this shit. Have you ever tried to cancel a subscription? It's not an easy thing to find, right? And then once it's buried in pages, you got to do like 5-6 clicks to get to it. And then once you get to it, the option to unsubscribe, it's not even a button. It's just like some highlighted text. They added so much friction in there because they want you to stay subscribed, right? You need to start using that to advantage in your life, right? Add friction to the habits you want to break, decrease friction as they pertain to the habits that you want to build. And if you do this, guess what? It takes less discipline. It takes less exertion. It's less of an arduous task. And you're way more likely to actually build these habits and execute them on a daily basis. Now, here's the thing. What kind of habits should you pick if you want to succeed in life? You want to be a badass baller champion. Well, I have another video on habits that you need to build to succeed in life. Go watch that video right now and start implementing them. Let's go.